Hello everyone. In this particular video, I'm going to talk about the section 8 of the business plan. The section 8 of the business plan talks about product or service design and development. If you are developing a completely new product or a service, you need to include this particular section in your business plan. This particular section talks about the various stages of your product or service development, the challenges, the risks, and so on. The items to include in this particular section include the first item, the development status and task. What is the development status of your product or service? And what are the tasks that are associated with it? You need to plan for that. Typically, a new product goes through different stages of development. For instance, the first stage is generating different kind of product ideas. Then we do the screening of the product ideas by looking at the practicality of those ideas, the feasibility of those ideas. And then obviously many of those ideas don't actually make through the screening process. But some ideas which make through the screening process undergo further testing, which we call as concept testing. We test the concept and we see again to look at whether it will really work, whether this is something that our customers really want. Once we have done that, we gather a lot of business analytics. We gather a lot of data about the product in terms of whether it is about the technology that we are going to use or about the customers whom we are going to offer this kind of product, so that we know more and more whether this product or service is going to work. And then we do what we call as further testing, which we call as beta testing and the marketability testing. Beta testing is testing for bugs, the different kind of bugs that your new product might have. And marketability test is to see whether the customers are liking this product, what are the customers not liking in your product. So to understand, so that you can fix those bugs, you can also fix those areas which customers are not liking, so that it becomes more likable by the customer before we actually commercialize the product. So as I said, your new product, if you're developing it, goes through different stages. You need to look at the development status and task. So that's the first item in this particular section. The second item in this particular section relates to the challenges and risks. When you are developing a new product or service, there are multiple challenges and risks associated with it. The challenges could be in terms of the availability of technology, availability of raw materials, availability of the manufacturing facility, the transportation. There could be various risks. For instance, there could be risk in terms of when it is manufactured, the risk it poses to people who are manufacturing it, or risk when it is transported, or risk in terms of how when it is sold. So you have to look at various challenges and risks that could come across, and hence you have to also ensure that you address them. The final item in this particular section talks about intellectual property. This is a very important item. You have to ensure that your product and service, which is very unique, that you have developed, nobody can actually copy it. Intellectual property protection is very important. You have various ways to do it. For instance, you have patents, you have trademarks, you have copyrights, but you need to work on it. Startups or new companies generally undermine the importance of intellectual property, but you should never do it. Remember, it's one of the most important things that you need to take care. It is an intangible asset, but it has got a great value. In fact, if you have a good intellectual property protection, then you can also use it to finance your business idea. And remember, it also helps you to protect against the copycats who may be sitting there waiting when some company will launch a great product or a service, and they will just copy it. They will go the easy route. So don't let them succeed in that. You realize the power of your product idea or the service idea that you have. Just to give you an example, every time Apple sells an iPhone, Samsung makes $110. Yes, when Apple sells an iPhone, Samsung makes money. You know why? Because Samsung makes some very important products which are ingredients in making that Apple iPhone. For instance, OLED displays or NAND flash or DRAM chips. These are very critical in production of the iPhone, which only Samsung manufactures. And that's the power of your product or service that you can have. There are many companies which were started very small, like IT services company, which became a huge hit because they had great service idea and they were bought by larger IT companies or tech giants from the Silicon Valley. So never undermine the importance of the uniqueness or the power of your product or service idea, and always remember to protect the intellectual rights of it, intellectual property rights of it. Thank you very much.